Dear guests, please accept our greetings, take your seats now, and please turn your microphones off. We are, as the members of IZMIR Democracy University ELT Student Club, proudly hosting our 14th online session on The Test is Dead, Long Live the Assessment, Assessments for Learning by Dr. TUTKU from BALIKESİR University.
Hello, now we will give you some brief information about this session. My name is ALEYNA ABUŞKA from ELT Department at IZMIR Democracy University. The moderator is Dr. NURDAN, who is also our academic advisor at ELT Department. This session is about 20 to 25 minutes long, and the QA sessions will be held by QA managers, me and DENİZ. You may prefer to write your questions. Don't worry, we'll be checking chat box, or you may use your mics if eligible. And please do not forget that at the end of the session, we will take our family photo. Now, we would like to kindly invite Dr. NURDAN to start of the 14th session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my dear students. One more time, I think it is the 14th time, so it seems like we are counting back and down. So it is, I think we just have 5 more presentations, and we are going to start the very last week with the presentation of my dear friend, my dear colleague. You know me, guys, we are totally gathering the old school friends, PhD friends together here. And Dr. TUTKU BAŞÖZ is also one of my PhD friends from Hacettepe University, and now she is working as a doctor at BALIKESİR University at the Department of English Language Teaching. And today she's gonna talk about the long process of the, how can I say, the discussion between the testing and assessment process. I know it is just like the old good story, like picking up the light or dark side in Star Wars. So let me leave the stage to my dear friend, my dear colleague, to Dr. TUTKU BAŞÖZ from BALIKESİR University to see how we are going to manage the problems related to testing and assessment, and how we are going to see which one lives, I'm not going to say forever, but more than the other. So let's see. Let me leave the stage to my dear friend, my dear colleague, to Dr. TUTKU BAŞÖZ. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. First of all, I would like to especially thank my dear colleague, Dr. NURDAN KAVAKLI, and everyone who has been involved in organizing this amazing event. I'm glad to be here with you today. Thank you for your invitation. Okay, let me share my screen first. Yes. What I want to share with you today is the notion of assessment for learning. I'll talk about what is assessment for learning, what are the benefits and main principles of it, what are the strategies that can be used in AFL, and lastly, I'll give you some ideas on how to put AFL into EFL classroom practice. As we all know, in recent years, there has been a noticeable change in educational assessment where assessment and student learning are viewed as inseparable, and assessment is perceived as a tool for supporting student learning. And English language teachers are also called on to apply suitable assessment procedures to monitor and evaluate student progress in their own classrooms. As assessment plays a crucial role in raising standards of achievement as well as informing and supporting student learning, assessment for learning has been introduced in contrast to assessment of learning in classrooms and schools. In other words, there is now a shift from a more traditional testing culture where instruction and assessment are perceived as independent from each other towards an assessment culture where assessments are conducted both formally and informally through monitoring and scaffolding, aligned with classroom instruction to enhance student learning. Okay, what does assessment for learning refer to? It is defined as the process of seeking and interpreting evidence for use by learners and their teachers to decide where the learners are in their learning, where they need to go, and how best to get there. So it is an interactive and learner-centered assessment approach evolving in many subject areas of education, including English language teaching. And in contrast to assessment of learning, utilized for reporting and decision-making purposes and making summative judgments of learning outcomes, AFL integrates assessment into instruction as an ongoing process where teachers use assessment information to make adjustments in their instructional endeavors and resources. And learners then use this information to modify their learning processes accordingly. AFL involves learners becoming more active in their learning and starting to think like a teacher. They think more actively about where they are now, where they are going, and how to get there. Thus, based on the constructivist view of learning, AFL aims to better understand how learners learn, what they can do or cannot do, and make some decisions on how to help them learn. And although AFL is grounded in the principles of formative assessment, it puts emphasis on day-to-day progress in learning as students climb the curricular scaffolding leading up to state standards. So AFL is used to mean much more than formative assessment, highlighting the shift in assessment culture that takes into account monitoring and scaffolding learners and aligning instruction in support of student learning and providing students with greater autonomy in the learning process. Okay, what are the benefits of AFL? I would say that assessment for learning can significantly improve L2 attainment and achievement, precisely because it encourages the learner to take personal responsibility for the learning. Students who are empowered are far more likely to achieve their potential because they have the skills, they have the knowledge, and the resources to get the best out of the language learning process. And another important element within assessment for learning is the development of self-confidence. It is developing the students' self-confidence. It is also important that the learner is able to assess themselves to understand how well they are doing in relation to the criteria. Not just waiting for feedback from the teacher, not just listening to what the teacher has to say. It is not just about the teacher's opinion. What does the student think? What is your opinion? And how well do you think you are doing? It enables learners to develop the ability to assess themselves and to take responsibility for their own learning. So it fosters learner autonomy as well. And it is also widely acknowledged that assessment for learning strategies significantly change the way teachers and students interact, because the teacher needs to encourage the learner to get involved in the process. So self-assessment is a critical part of the process. With summative assessment, the learner is waiting to be given feedback by the teacher. But when it is assessment for learning, the learner is encouraged to assess themselves. So we can say that AFL changes the culture of the classroom as well. Now, I would like to mention some key research-based principles of AFL to guide EFL classroom practice. Firstly, AFL should be a part of effective planning of teaching and learning. And EFL teachers' planning should provide opportunities for both learner and teacher to obtain and use information about progress towards learning goals. It also has to be flexible to respond to initial and emerging ideas and skills. Planning should include strategies to ensure that learners understand the goals they are pursuing and the criteria that will be applied in assessing their work, how learners will receive feedback, how they will take part in assessing their learning, and how they will be helped to make further progress should also be planned. Secondly, AFL should focus on how students learn. The process of language learning has to be in the minds of both learner and teacher when assessment is planned and the evidence is interpreted. It is important. EFL teachers should become as aware of the how of their learning as they are of the what. And the next principle is that AFL should be recognized as central to classroom practice. Tasks and questions should prompt learners to demonstrate their knowledge and language skills. What learners say and do is observed and interpreted, and judgments are made about how language learning can be improved. And these assessment processes should be an essential part of everyday classroom practice and involve both EFL teachers and learners in reflection, interaction, and decision making. It is very important. AFL should also be regarded as a key professional skill for the 21st century EFL teachers, for both pre-service and in-service teachers. They require the professional knowledge and skills to plan for assessment, observe learning, analyze and interpret evidence of learning, give feedback to learners, and support learners in self-assessment. So, teachers should be supported in developing these skills through initial and continuing professional development. Okay, the next one. AFL should be sensitive and constructive because any assessment has an emotional impact. So, EFL teachers should be aware of the impact that comments, marks, and grades can have on learners' confidence and enthusiasm. And they should be as constructive as possible in the feedback they give. Comments that focus on the work rather than the person are more constructive for both learning and motivation, you know. Moreover, assessment should take account the importance of learner motivation. Assessment that encourages learning fosters motivation by highlighting progress and achievement rather than failure. And L2 motivation can be preserved and enhanced by assessment methods which protect the learner's autonomy and provide some choice and constructive feedback. AFL should also promote commitment to language learning goals and a shared understanding of the criteria by which EFL learners are assessed. For effective language learning to take place, learners need to understand what it is they are trying to achieve. Understanding and commitment follows when learners have some part in deciding goals or identifying criteria for assessing progress. So communicating assessment criteria involves discussing them with learners using the terms that they can understand, of course, and engaging them in peer and self-assessment. Additionally, EFL learners should receive constructive guidance about how to improve. Teachers should pinpoint learners' strengths and advise on how to develop them. They should be clear and constructive about any weaknesses and how they might be addressed. They should also provide opportunities for learners to improve on their work. Yes, AFL develops learners' capacity for self-assessment so that they can become reflective and self-managing. Independent EFL learners have the ability to seek out and gain knowledge and new skills. They are able to engage in self-reflection and to identify the next steps in their learning. So teachers should equip them with the desire and the capacity to take charge of their own learning through developing the skills of self-assessment. And lastly, AFL should be used to enhance all learners' opportunities to learn NL2. It should enable all learners to achieve their best and to have their language learning efforts recognized. Okay, what are assessment for learning strategies? There are 5 main processes that take place in assessment for learning. The strategic use of questioning, effective teacher feedback, peer feedback, student self-assessment, and the formative use of summative assessment. Let's start with the first one. Questioning. Questioning is used not only as a pedagogical tool, but also as a deliberate way for the teacher to find out what students know, understand, and are able to do. It also enables learners, with the help of their teacher, to find out what level they are at. And research has shown that after asking a question, many teachers wait less than 1 second, and then, if no answer is forthcoming, ask another question or answer the question themselves. And the result of such short wait time is that the only questions that work are those that can be answered quickly without thought, namely, and unfortunately, questions calling for memorized facts. As a result, the dialogue, the interaction in the classroom is at a superficial level. And the key to changing such a situation is to allow longer wait time. Increasing the wait time can help more students to become involved in discussions and increase the length of their replies. Another way to broaden participation is to ask students to brainstorm ideas, perhaps in pairs for 2 or 3 minutes before the teacher asks for contributions. And overall, a result of such changes is that teachers learn more about the students' prior knowledge and about any gaps or misconceptions in that knowledge, so that teachers' next moves can better address the learners' real needs. Effective questioning is also an important aspect of the impromptu or unplanned interventions teachers conduct once the students are engaged in an activity. Asking simple questions such as, why do you think that? Or how might you express that? Can become part of the interactive dynamic of the classroom and can provide an invaluable opportunity to extend students' thinking through immediate feedback on their work. Effective teacher feedback is another one. It tells the students what they have achieved and where they need to improve. And importantly, the feedback provides specific suggestions about how that improvement might be achieved. Written tasks, along with oral questioning, should encourage EFL learners to develop and show understanding of the key features of what they have learned. Commands should identify what has been done well and what still needs improvement, and give guidance on how to make that improvement. So opportunities for EFL learners to follow up commands should be placed as part of the overall learning process. And please keep in mind that when giving students feedback on both oral and written work, it is the nature rather than the amount of feedback that is critical. And many studies have shown that while student learning can be advanced by feedback through commands, the giving of numerical scores or grades has a negative effect in that students ignore commands when marks are also given. And these results often surprise teachers, but those who have abandoned the giving of marks discover that students do engage more productively in improving their work. Actually, the central point here is that to be effective, feedback should cause thinking to take place. And the implementation of such reforms can change both teachers and learners' attitudes towards written work.
Thinking is the
yes.
most important thing, yeah. All the time. Whatever you do, not only for giving just feedback. It is just necessary for everything, I guess. When we are teaching in the classroom, when we are preparing the exams, when we are introducing the topic even, you know, we should just tap on their reasoning all the time, our students. Make them to think, which they lack. They lack. They don't want to. They don't want to. The students, you know, want to get everything very cheap and very easy. It is just hard thing, you know, very difficult to think about something, to work on your brain. It takes guts, you know. It's I don't know. So it must be our duty or some kind of responsibility as teacher educator to tap on their reasoning skills. It's very important. TUTKU hocam, yes.
Okay, Oya hocam, thank you.
Gosh, it's very nice, you know, to interact with the presenter like this.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nurdan. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity for us. Really.
You know, it is going to be always, not only once, right?
Yeah. We're gonna go on.
Yes.
And after the end of the week, I guess, on Saturday, the last one. Ushul
Yes.
will be presenting. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm so sorry to bottom, but
No problem.
Thank you for your contribution. Thank you.
your talk.
And the implementation of such reforms can change both teachers and learners' attitudes towards written work. And in this way, the assessment of students' work will be seen less as a competitive and summative judgment and more as a distinctive step in the process of learning. And peer feedback occurs when a student uses established success criteria to tell another student what they have achieved and where improvement is necessary. Again, the feedback provides specific suggestions to help achieve improvement. I use peer feedback strategy a lot in my practice. For example, in the course writing skills, after the students write the first draft of their essays, I ask them to exchange their papers with their partners and provide feedback on their writing by using
kind of thing. Yeah.
I use the assessment criteria, and then they give each other feedback. Yes, I use a peer review form. First, they spend some time going through the assessment criteria, and then they give each other feedback. And the most important thing about peer feedback for me is the way that it makes students internalize the assessment criteria and to be able to apply that to each other's work.
TUTKU hocam, I'm so sorry to butt in, but how are you pairing these people? How are you pairing these people?
Randomly.
You're going to be asking your students to do peer assessment. How are you pairing? Randomly, or are you looking at the proficiency level of the students?
I don't look at the proficiency levels randomly. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
First, yes. And I think peer review activity really helps them to apply to their work and to be able to objectively reflect on what they are doing. Actually, it helps them to develop the objectivity required for effective self-assessment, which is another strategy of AFL. Yes, it encourages students to take responsibility for their own learning. Learners become more independent in their language learning and they become more autonomous learners. I think it is very difficult for learners to achieve a learning goal unless they can assess what they need to do in order to reach it. So self-assessment is essential to language learning. Students should be encouraged to bear in mind the aims of their work and to assess their own progress to meet these aims. They will then be able to guide their own work and so become independent learners. But the criteria for evaluating any language learning achievements must be made transparent to learners in order to enable them to have a clear overview of the aims of their work and what it means to complete it successfully. And such criteria may well be abstract. So concrete examples should be used in modeling exercises to develop understanding. Okay, the last strategy, the formative use of summative assessments. Some have argued that formative and summative assessments are so different in their purpose that they have to be kept apart. However, it is unrealistic to expect teachers and learners to practice such separation. So the challenge is to achieve a more positive relationship between the two. Summative assessment is a necessary aspect of education, and formative use can be made of summative assessment, both before and after the assessment event. For example, a student's exam can be used formatively to help them improve, since this helps teachers to give constructive feedback and enhance language learning. So with the use of summative tests for formative purposes, students can be engaged in a reflective review of the work they have done to enable them to plan their revision effectively. Or they should be encouraged through peer assessment and self-assessment to apply criteria to help them understand how their work might be improved. So the overall message is that summative tests should be and should be seen to be a positive part of the learning process. Such tests should be used to chart learning occasionally rather than to dominate the assessment picture for both teachers and students. Then, what is the best way to get started with AFL? I would like to mention 4 straightforward ways to introduce AFL into your language teaching. The first idea to put into practice is think, pair, share. It involves posing a question to learners and giving them a few minutes to consider their response on their own. Then, each learner discusses their ideas with a partner before the conversation is open to the whole class. For example, after reading a chapter of a book, you can ask learners to reflect quietly on a question about it for 1 or 2 minutes. During this time, they record their answers or own ideas on paper. Next, you can instruct them to turn to their partners and discuss the question for several minutes. This time, they record their partner's thoughts. Then, you can call on several pairs to tell the class what their ideas are. This strategy encourages all learners to get involved in the classroom participation. It gives them time to formulate their own ideas, as well as an opportunity for all learners to share their thinking with at least one other learner. It also encourages them to listen to each other's ideas and helps them understand different viewpoints, which is regarded as one of the most important 21st century learning skills, you know. But please be careful. The time this technique in class, scaffold your learners' pair discussions by reminding them to listen to each other's, listen to each other's ideas and to ask questions of one another. A useful technique to make sure that your learners really listen to each other's is to tell them that they will have to explain their partner's ideas to the class. It really works, believe me. Okay. Comments only marking. As I mentioned before, the addition of a mark or grade destroys any benefit from the comment, and comments will only become useful if they are used to guide further work or close the learning gap. When marking learners' assignments, for instance, give a constructive comment instead of giving a grade. You can choose one piece of work per month on which to give detailed written feedback to your learners. And the feedback should be focused on success criteria that learners are made aware of. Because learning happens when a learner has strengths and weaknesses identified and is given clear advice on how to improve. And at the start of the next lesson, give back the work with the comments. Then allow time for your learners to improve the assignment, responding to your comments. Traffic lights. This technique is a quick way to find out how confident learners feel about a new concept or skill that has been covered in a lesson. It is a means of self-assessment that displays on how well a student has understood a topic or activity based on the colors of a traffic light. In simple terms, red means I don't understand this yet. Yellow means I think I understand but couldn't explain it to someone else. And green means I understand this well and could explain it to a friend. And students are asked to show a green, yellow, or red card to indicate their level of understanding and to attract support from the teacher or their peers. Yes, the last idea I would like to mention is peer feedback on an assignment. First, you should introduce the success criteria. These are the qualities that make a good piece of work, such as the effective use of language or using evidence to support an argument in an essay. Learners read each other's assignments and make notes on how much each success criterion was achieved. Then, in pairs, the learners give each other written or verbal feedback, or both, based on the success criteria. Well, to incorporate some of the ideas about AFL into your own practice, the first step is to reflect on what you are doing now. A next step must be to try out changes, and it is often best to think of one thing you feel confident to try, be it traffic lights, peer assessment, improved questioning, whatever, just try it. As you gain confidence in the power of allowing learners to say what they know and what they need to know, you will decide that you should extend assessment for learning to the whole of your teaching. I would like to close my talk with the inspiring words from Cope and Calensis. There will, in the future, be no difference between instruction and assessment. The test is that in its conventional form and long-lived assessment.
I like this one.
Wow, it sounds so powerful, doesn't it?
It is. It is.
Assessment will be everything, and there won't be instruction separate from assessment. We'll embed assessment all the way through learning, and we won't have that distinction anymore. We'll wait and see. Time will show us, I think. Well,
okay, sorry for the interruption, but could you please stop sharing and shall we please take a family photo?
Okay. Just a second.
Because we just have 2.5 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
okay, you did it.
Yeah, well,
take your seats.
Yeah, we look great. Deniz, is it you? I thought that female person anyway.
So, yeah, your seats and smile. I'm going to take the photo.
Yep.
Let me take it one more time. Yes, thank you very much. Yes, Aleyna, go.
thank you for organizing all these series of webinars, you know.
Thank you very much for your participation.
Yeah,
Thank
really.
you
It's a
very
lot
much.
of work. Congratulations, all you guys,
So much.
really.
Thank you so much.
Behind the scenes, you know, you're doing a lot of stuff. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And I'm very proud of you
We're
guys.
just following you, let's say.
Yeah, I'm just trying my best, you know. I can't just promise it. I'm doing so many other things, and in between, I'm just trying to watch you guys. Sometimes I follow.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
But
Thank
you know
you.
what? Nurdan
Yes.
Hocam, I am very proud of you guys, all young people. Really, you're gonna be wonderful. Not kids. I don't want to say this one, but teacher trainers.
Yes.
And let me go back. Under soil or somewhere.
It's going to be closed down.
You're
I'm sorry
tired.
for the
And yes, I'm proud of you guys. Really,
Thank you so much.
I clap all of you. Really, Nurdan and everybody.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
he's in the right and the strong and the good hands. Good hands. Thanks to you guys, really.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I feel myself 25 though, you know. I feel still 25, although I am 51.
We are going to talk about your age maybe later because we just have less than a minute. We need to close the session, okay?
Nurdan, you know what? I'm very happy with my age. No problem.
Thank you. I know it.
I feel like 25, sometimes 20. Yeah. Depending on.
Okay, Aleyna, could you please end the session now?
It's going to be closed down, so I'm closing the session. If you have any further questions or recommendations, please send an email to Dr. TUTKU BAŞÖZ. So thank you one more time for joining us and sharing our excitement today. Our special thanks go to Dr. TUTKU BAŞÖZ and hope to see you again. Please follow us on Instagram, EduELT for the updates. Bye for now.